The gavel falls. A murderer walks free. This is Demon Kanda, a gang leader whose record includes dozens of charges that never reached a jury. Today, he's walking out the front doors of the courthouse. The evidence was secured, right? Up until the moment key files disappeared from the evidence locker, and local officials stopped returning calls. Watching him leave is Sub-Inspector Vishwa. He is the officer who spent months building the case and nearly died making the arrest. For an idealistic officer, this is the moment the internal logic of the job collapses. You realize you aren't fighting a criminal. You're fighting a legal system that has been repurposed to protect him. Vishwa's commitment to the law started in a small farming village, far away from the complexities of city politics. Here, survival depended on the predictable cycle of the seasons and the physical labor of the soil.
While working the fields, his father, Murali, taught him that a man's word and hard work were the only things that truly belonged to him. In the village, honesty wasn't just a value, it was how the community survived. Vishva applied that same labor to his education. When the local grid failed, he spent his nights on a mud floor, memorizing law and procedure by the light of a single kerosene lantern. That discipline led him to pass the state civil service exam. He became the first person in his village to earn the rank of sub-inspector, a role the community saw as a shield for the honest against the corrupt. He put on the uniform believing the law functioned like the village. If you did the work and told the truth, the outcome was guaranteed. His first posting was Chimpangta, a city where that village logic didn't apply. Extortion was a business expense, and the local mafia operated with such openness that residents didn't even bother calling the police station. Vishva ignored the unofficial truces between the department and the gangs. He reopened dormant files on assault and kidnapping, leading night raids into territories where police hadn't set foot in years. Within months, the physical reality of the city changed. Shopkeepers stopped paying protection money, and for the first time in a decade, citizens began showing up at the station to testify against local enforcers. The shift was measurable. When citizens see one officer follow through on an arrest without taking a bribe, the silence that protects a gang begins to dissolve. Demon Kanda viewed this sudden enforcement of the law as a direct threat to his revenue. For 6 months, he mapped Vishwa's movements, looking for a moment when the officer was separated from his team. That moment came during a morning walk. 2 motorcycles cut through the winter fog, and 3 bullets were fired at close range before the bikes disappeared. Vishwa survived, but the recovery took a year. He went through multiple surgeries and months of physical therapy, driven by the singular goal of returning to the one city that was finally starting to trust the police. His return was marked by a tactical strike on Demon Kanda's inner circle. Using intelligence gathered during his recovery, Vishva led the raid that ended with the gang leader finally in handcuffs. He had arrested the one man who had successfully bought or intimidated every previous attempt at prosecution. But the victory was short-lived. As we saw in that courtroom, the evidence Vishva risked his life to collect was dismantled by the very officials responsible for filing it. A month after Demon Kanda's release, Vishva was still doing the job, but the institutional support was gone. He walked toward the station, knowing that his own department had become a liability. On a quiet afternoon, a car accelerated toward him from behind. This wasn't a warning. It was a professional hit. 5 shots were fired from the vehicle before it sped away. Vishva died on the pavement. The previous year of recovery and the years of rural struggle ended in a few seconds on an empty street. When the courts signaled that Demon Kanda was untouchable, they stripped away the authority of Vishva's rank, leaving him to walk those streets as just another man in a khaki shirt, unprotected by the state he served. The city responded with a massive, spontaneous demonstration of grief. The people he had protected for that brief window of time realized exactly what they had lost. At the funeral, his father, Murali, was presented with his son's blood-stained uniform. To the father, it wasn't a symbol of office. It was the physical remains of the dream they had started in the fields. Vishva's story highlights the specific cost of integrity. When the system is designed to fail, the only person who suffers is the one who refuses to stop doing the work correctly. Vishwa never saw the final conviction he fought for, but he left behind an empty uniform that serves as a permanent record of the year Chimpanka lived without fear.